Welcome to Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is a singer, songwriter, recording artist, as well as a worship leader. Please welcome Lisa Mitz. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Allie.
How are
Nice to
you?
be here.
Thanks for coming. How's it going?
It's going wonderful here in Seattle. We're having an incredible summer, so
Oh,
all is
nice.
good.
It's hot here, like muggy hot. It's just unbelievable. There's heat warnings in effect everywhere across Canada right
Oh my
now.
goodness.
Yeah, it's nuts. Okay, so we've been talking back and forth for a little while now. You intrigue me for a number of reasons, but one of the things we talked before the interview, I love your piano playing. I'm just saying right
Oh,
now. So basically tell me, like, I know you've worked with some of Seattle's best musicians and you've worked in some incredible places. Tell me how old you were when you started your journey.
so actually, I started on the piano when I was 6 years old, and my parents gave me classical piano lessons pretty much all the way through till I went to college. I entered into the University of Florida as a music major in classical piano.
Oh,
But yeah, but after about a year of being secluded in a room, having to practice and play in front of juries and music theory, which I just really did not like, I just decided, you know what? I don't know if I really want to be a classical pianist. And I actually went over and I minored in music, and I got a major in communication and broadcasting production, in fact,
oh,
on radio. And so, yeah, that's kind of how that started.
well, that's
And
cool.
so,
We have something in common because I went for broadcasting as well. um,
yeah,
Now, like I said, you've worked with some of Seattle's best musicians, artists, and producers, including Capitol Records R7B artist, um, Alan Stone, which is great.
yeah.
And then you
And
also,
actually, go ahead. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Oh,
I
it's okay.
didn't
No,
mean
no,
to
no. Go
cut
ahead.
you.
Go ahead. I was just going to keep reading.
Well, I actually found out since I sent all that Alan actually is not with Capitol anymore.
Oh,
I think he's with Dave Matthews, which is pretty amazing, his label too. But, you know, the record industry and the label industry changes a lot.
yeah.
But I did have the opportunity to work with him about 6 years ago, actually even maybe seven. He did my first three albums, and the first album, You Found Me, he co-wrote and produced with me, and then he really was discovered after that, and yeah, and went on himself to become extremely successful in the music world.
Yeah.
But I also had the opportunity to work with a Canadian artist, John Bryant, who's phenomenal too. He actually helped produce my Songbird album, which was my fourth project, which I also had the incredible privilege of going to Nashville in Franklin and recorded two songs with some amazing, well-known artists. I don't know if you've known about the Castle Studios. It's famous for like platinum albums that have come out of there, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I just discovered that one of the people on the album, on my songs, Chip Davis, he plays with Alabama,
Oh my
and
God.
I had no idea until
Oh,
recently. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a little humbled right now and
no kidding.
embarrassed that I didn't know.
It was probably refreshing for him though. Because I mean, I'm sure as people find out, as soon as people find out that he's from Alabama, he's getting, questions and blah, 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 blah. So it was
Yeah,
probably kind of refreshing. Now,
yeah.
life obviously, changed and you got married and had children. And then in
Mm-hmm.
2002, you revisited your music background. And
Mm-hmm.
since then, you've released 6 albums of all
Mm-hmm.
original songs. And your latest and most recent project is Heart Song. And it's
Mm-hmm.
your first all instrumental piano album in the new age genre, which is quite relaxing music. That's what I listen to when I go to sleep, by the way. You can get them on YouTube, the relaxing, and it's either the waterfalls, because water puts me to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
or piano. So that is so cool that you've done that.
Yes, I'm super excited to see the progress, of every album and that you want as an artist. And over the years, of course, piano has been my foundation. And so I've had people ask me like, "Are you going to do an instrumental album?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I should." And so I love that kind of music too. In fact, it's just always been a part for us in relaxation. And my husband is actually in natural health care.
Oh.
And he has an acupuncture clinic and a practice. And so we were always playing other people's instrumental.
Oh, goodness.
And so now it's kind of cool because we can play mine in the office. And it's amazing how many people just absolutely love that kind of music today.
Yeah.
In a world so full of, so much anxiety. And
yes.
So, yes, I'm excited to have just released that first project.
Awesome. I think it's beautiful. And you're right. I mean, people need to just be able to breathe because the world is so chaotic right now. And that lets you breathe. Now, all your other projects range from singer-songwriter to contemporary Christian, as well as country, R&B, and some jazz. I like that you don't put yourself in a box, that you're covering all kinds of different genres. Is that what you plan to do going forward, or is there new things on the horizon?
Yes, in fact, I'm getting ready to go back into the studio to release a couple of new singles here. One of which is country. I have a couple country songs, the ones I did in Nashville that are on my Songbird album. But I like to, be inspired by, not just other artists that have impacted me, but really kind of the feel of whatever song that I'm writing. Mm-hmm. And, I spent my first couple albums were really all pretty much praise and worship. We also lived in Israel for 4.5 years during that time.
Wow.
So a lot of those albums were inspired and influenced by that experience of, just so much, living like a lifetime in 4.5 years there with our kids and coming back to the States in the summer and recording. And so, I have some Hebrew songs on that too. But then when we moved back in 2011, and I started working more closely with Alan Stone and his R&B influence, that kind of inspired that You Found Me album. And then when I moved on to the next album, I was inspired by a little bit of more singer-songwriter and country. And my latest lyrical project, Where I Belong, was kind of like, I love a little bit of Colby Calais feel. I love a little bit of jazz. I like the Stevie Nicks kind of feel. And so you try to be inspired in that way, in each project, at least for me.
And that's awesome. When did you become a worship leader?
I became a worship leader, oh my goodness, when we moved from Florida to Seattle back in 2002. That's when I started writing. And so a lot of the worship leading I was doing was not just, we started a ministry. My husband's also a pastor. And so we started a ministry. And so we did a lot of the songs that I was writing, and along with some of our worship team that was also writing with me. So, I led worship for many, many, many years. And that really was the catalyst of my songwriting, actually.
Wow. Well, that is awesome. Now, we're going to switch topics because what you do with the next topic we're going to talk about blows me away. You're the director of operations, and you also help fundraising. And we're talking about Destiny's House.
Yeah.
Destiny House, not Destiny's House. Destiny House.
Right. Destiny House Restoration Center. Mm-hmm.
And it's for female victims of sex trafficking, ages 18 and over. So tell us a bit about that, because I think it's, first off, I'm just going to say, I've talked about you coming on and talking about this, and people were like shocked. Well, there's still a sex trafficking going on, and I was like, oh my God, yeah. And it's not prevalent in the news, and you don't really hear about it anymore. I mean, we used to all the time, and now we don't. So I was so excited that you were coming on to talk about it, because it needs to be talked about, because, like I said, nobody even realized that it was still happening. So tell me all about Destiny House. I've got the mission in front of me and everything, so.
So actually, it actually was also birthed out of my music. It's just an amazing thing how God uses all things together for good and for His purpose, you know. In that third album, which I think you're going to have one of the songs from that album, Where Has Love Gone? I wrote that in the studio and working with Alan at that time. We had written a very deep song. When I was writing it, I knew that the words were like, whoa, this is pretty deep. It wasn't a praise and worship song. It was just almost like a cry of the heart. And I wasn't really sure why or what it was for, but after that album was released, my husband actually came across an artist by the name of Luke Dowler. He's pretty well known. I think he might even be from Canada. I'm not sure, but in any case, he had released a song called Our Silence is Shameful, and it was a video on YouTube. And when he watched it, he just started weeping, and he said, honey, you've got to come over here and see this. And it was basically just a simple portrayal of a young girl in a truck with a guy, an older man, and she's being taken and, you know, pulled up to a house, dragged out of her will, and thrown into a house, a room where you see other girls. And at the end of that video, it had all these statistics of what was going on in North America. And we were floored because, first of all, we were like, what? You know, I have two daughters and young at that time. And I thought, this cannot be happening. I mean, we always heard about trafficking and selling of children in like Cambodia, Thailand, but certainly cannot be happening here in the United States. And of course, we come to find out that it's actually the second highest crime here. And the FBI statistics were just unbelievable. Being in Seattle, we found out that the I-5 corridor is one of the main corridors. And so out of that, that's when David, my husband, turned to me and said, you know, I think this is why you wrote that song, and we need to do a music video out of it. And so we rallied our small little church community and raised, you know, $6,000-7,000 and hired a professional film company and did a very powerful reenactment of a typical story of what would happen. It's kind of graphic. I don't think it's something to watch with young children, but I do think it's important. It's nothing like the reality of what's going on, but it was strong enough to get people's attention, and it actually went on later to earn Best Music Video at the 2015 Awareness Film Festival in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that really was the catalyst for the birthing of Destiny House Restoration Center, because, you know, we did the music video as a way to awaken people. Like, it's a shock value, like, this is happening right here, yep, and it's on our watch, and we got to do something. But then we realized, you know, for us, our whole life's mission has really been about healing, whether it's through music or through, you know, natural medicine or whatever. And so we were like, okay, what are we going to do? What can we do? And, you know, the little impact that we can make. And we discovered that there's very few programs across North America that can take these girls in, you know, when they're 18 and ready to make a life change, if they survive, you know, that far.
Yeah.
And so that's what our life's mission has become about for the last 6 years is, you know, we have not raised enough money to have a property and open a full-time residential program. We're getting closer. But I talk with survivors all the time, you know, several a month, and I try to find a program for them with real data-driven results. And that's hard find.
Yeah.
That's our mission.
Wow. It's an amazing mission. I have a daughter and I have a granddaughter. And I can't fathom like I just it's I mean, and I think maybe that's why so many people were surprised that we were going to be talking about it, because you don't hear about it. And that's sad, because I know just from doing research and all those different things that I'm into and Allie's Awareness Avenue, I knew that it was still happening and I knew that it was big. And then when I came across you, I was like, oh my God, I have to have her on. Now, so it's a transitional housing facility incorporating a holistic, measured results, data-driven treatment program, and it's entitled HEARTS, Hearts, and it's healing, education, and restoration treatment for survivors. So, I mean, how are these, like, mentally, how are these girls after, I mean, and are they allowed to leave when they're 18? Or, I mean, my vision of sex trafficking is they are taken against their will. They're put in a house or on the street or wherever the case may be, and they're forced to live that life until whenever. I didn't know that they were able to actually leave, and I didn't think a lot of them, like you said, did survive.
Well, I think there's various different forms in our experience of so much research over the years. There's various forms of sex trafficking. So you have your child slavery of children being sold. A lot of times like in third world countries, their parents actually sell them into pay, and it's horrific.
Yeah.
Most of those children do not survive. You know, everybody thinks of the typical story of Taken, the movie series, you know, with Liam Neeson, and but not everybody has a superpower dad that's going to come and rescue their teenage daughter like that. Because, you know, there are stories like that where girls in America have gone to other countries and don't return. But I think as far as the majority of trafficking here in the United States, besides girls coming in, like my music video shows a girl coming in from a poor Russian country, you know, thinking she's going to be like a model, and, you know, discovers that, no, she's part of a ring. And that does happen a lot. I mean, you see that, you know, FBI busting several rings. But I think the majority now is that a lot of girls are being groomed at a very young age, where they're dealing with insecurities, self-esteem issues, maybe broken homes, maybe sexual abuse, or whatever it is. I mean, there's so many different factors. Sometimes it is even where it's a girl from you think like a perfect home, but she is, you know, drugged or is, you know, taken to a party, raped, threatened with pictures, beaten, and threatened to, you know, not that they're going to show those pictures. I mean, there's so many different scenarios, but what it turns into is prostitution.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always tell, you know, there was a myth for so many times that most people think, well, these girls want it, you know, they're making that choice to be a prostitute, they're doing this. And I always say, you know, no 5-year-old little girl, when you ask her what does she want to be when she grows up, says she wants to be a prostitute.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is not even in the concept, you know, but most girls have been so abused. And what happens, I don't know if you've heard of the Netflix documentary that came out last year. We actually helped sponsor a public viewing of it here in the Seattle-Tacoma area, but it's called I Am Jane Doe.
Yes.
And it was such a powerful documentary based on the true story of 3 girls, one of which was here in Seattle.
Oh my goodness.
And the incredible story of this attorney and these 3 moms who go fight Backpage.com, because see, a lot of this child prostitution was happening on Backpage. And the story is just remarkable. but you know, the courts were defending Backpage's right to basically prostitute these girls. You know, these men were prostituting them, selling them, and the horrific reality of that. You know, when you and they interview the actual girls, and you know, you realize now they're 16, 17, and they're just really broken forever.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot, you know, 10, 12 times a night. It's just horrible. But that's the kind of trafficking that has been going on, a lot of online trafficking, you know, where these girls are then, you know, bribed or run away, and they're, you know, they become part of a ring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's difficult and very hard to think how can this be happening? And, you know, I think part of the process to end it is we've got to bring it out into the light. And we've got to take on the scary things like these moms did to fight it, you know, and say, this is, my daughter might be damaged, but I don't, you know, we've got to do something to prevent that. So our vision, besides bringing awareness and much education that's needed, we work with also Washington Trafficking Prevention, is through my music and through the vision of Destiny House. We haven't had enough money to open our program full time. We still need the property. That is our mission statement and our vision statement. But we are hoping this year that we just need we need a couple of very large, you know, benefactors, donors. It takes a lot of money think about it. You need a home, you need a property, you need house mothers, you need, you know, a lot. To have taken 6 to 8 girls and put them through a real program of healing where within a year they can be restored, you know, to a normal, healthy life where they're not having to go back to prostitution and trafficking. That's, you know, that's the goal. Most girls go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
And it's like you said, just to finish up too with your question, mentally and emotionally, I have spoken with many survivors, and unfortunately, many of them do suffer mentally and emotionally. That's why they need a real program, and not everybody makes it through. But you hope, it's like the starfish story, right? You just hope that the one you're picking up on the beach and throwing back in the ocean is going to make it.
Exactly. I commend you and your husband for doing this, because they do need help. And I mean, statistics show that a lot of them do go back, and that's unfortunate. But at least there are places like Destiny House that are there to help if they if they want and if they need, and whatever the case may be. Now, are you still having the annual concert and live auction September 22nd?
Yes, we're super excited about that. My band and I will be playing, and we have a survivor coming to speak, and that is our annual benefit. It's an amazing auction. We'll be in Maple Valley. Anybody listening in the Washington, Seattle, Tacoma area, will be at a beautiful store, the owners of which have really partnered and aligned themselves with us. It's called A Matter of Style on September 22nd. And, yep, I'm excited. And that we just keep hoping, okay, this is the year. God, this is the year.
Well.
Up till now, I talk to several survivors every month. We are very well known for not being open yet. We get so many calls, and what I've had to do is I spend a lot of my time, you know, developing relationships with other programs. Unfortunately, there's only 2 others here in Washington that are really got a really good program, and they're full. I mean, a lot of times I can't even get people in for 6 months, so I'm having to call other places in other states and cities. And
oh my goodness!
So we're really hoping this is going to be the year that we can be one more where people can come and be healed.
Yeah, well, I hope it works. And I mean, I'm hoping this helps too. And you are set up for donations. Um,
Yes,
Now, this website for Destiny House, it's destinyhouserc.org. It's going to be up on my website. So people can click on it. I'm urging everyone, please, please, please go donate to
yes,
to Destiny House. It is very important. And if you're a parent, uncle, aunt, whatever the case may be, just imagine, because I couldn't. And
that's right.
that should be enough to, like, motivate everybody to help these
Yes,
girls at least find some kind of normal life. I mean, normal to them is going to be a lot different than normal to us, but at least it's a better life than they're in.
yes.
I commend you. Like I said, I think it's amazing what you do. Now, what two songs, a completely different, switching gears again, what two songs are we going to hear from you, Lisa?
Well, actually, one of the songs I think you're going to hear, I think we talked about is Where Has Love Gone, right?
Yes, yeah.
And that actually is the song to my music video, so it's perfect because that is the one that I was talking about earlier in the interview where we wrote that song, no, not really knowing. It was so deep, and I think you'll hear the words, and that's the one that we put to the music video that has opened the whole vision for the work that we're doing now with Destiny House. And in all of my concerts, I always talk about our work, and I perform in wine bars and restaurants and benefit concerts everywhere, and I always talk about, because most people are not aware. So I also donate a portion of all my sales and merchandise to Destiny House. So anytime you're supporting my music, you're supporting that. So that's one of the songs. And the second song is called Let Love Rain Down Tonight. And that was one of the ones on my Songbird album, which is dedicated to the victims that are never heard from again. They were songbirds and their voices lost, but not forgotten. And so Let Love Rain Down Tonight is a cry for healing in our hearts and in our land. And it really is a country song, actually recorded, one of the ones that I recorded at the Castle Studios. So those are the two songs.
Well, and they're beautiful songs, as people are going to find out when they listen. Now, you can purchase your music anywhere online, iTunes, Spotify. Also, your website, which is lisamitz.com. That is also going to be up on my website, and it'll link directly to you. Anything new happens, please, please come back. And if I can help any way, shape, or form, I mean, money-wise, I can't do a lot, but if the more I bring you on and talk about it, the more, I mean, if you do finally get to open the house, I'd love you to come back on and talk about it, because I think that
Yes.
I mean, it has to happen. So
it has to happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It just has to happen, and I believe it's going to very soon.
Good. And thank you so much for coming on and talking, not just about your, singing, songwriting, but also about Destiny House. And I love that you combined the two. I think that's amazing. And I think you're amazing. And I'm just thank you so much for coming on the show, Lisa. And like I say, just keep in touch. Anything new happens, you can come back on the show anytime.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellie. It was really an honor. I just appreciate your heart to open up and receive me and receive this call and, make it known. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic Show. Keep checking my website, because you never know what kind of surprises you're going to find in my attic. Cheers.